Hey everyone, I want to do some world building tonight, so here we are. I think this will be a more chill stream, just because of how much I talked last night reading Conan, as fun as I was. So here we have the map we started on Monday. I have some thoughts on cleaning it up, especially the trees, but I think I'll save that for the following Monday, make that a regular cartography thing. Still working out his stream schedule. We'll see what happens there. But I thought tonight would be fun to do some world building for this map. Start giving stuff names, maybe think out some structures going on in the world. This is all the super grognardy GM stuff that happens in the background. 90% of it never reaches the actual tabletop game. It's just GMs having fun with the world, fleshing it out in the background. So to recap what we have so far, we started with our castle here, front and center. Between two rivers. North is a small town supporting directly the castle. Besides the castle, there is a asshole wizard who refuses to pay his taxes up here in the mountains. There is the largest city in the area, here to the west across the river. South of that is a port town, also fairly big. East, beyond the initial mountain band, is a town. I haven't decided what it will be. Maybe we'll figure that out tonight. My first thoughts when I put it down was that maybe a monastery of some sorts, but I have to give some thought on what religions could be around here. Fun stuff for tonight, hopefully. Besides that, we put down agricultures because I was craving a burger at the time. So we have plenty of grain and farms, along with Cattle Valley, out where the might be a rain shadow, so the vegetation will be a little more sparse, more just grass rather than trees. And east of that, I left fairly blank. Some ruins or graveyard. There are some other ruins out here beyond the mountains, but I left plenty of room to grow. Excuse me. Open my water ahead of time tonight. Alright, so getting started, where I usually start when building a world. Whether it's just for writing some fiction, or for an actual tabletop game, I usually start with the political dynamics of the area, just as a foundation that I branch out from. I don't always do this, but it's generally my go-to point just for establishing context, even if it's not directly where the setting will take place. It gives me something to latch onto to start fleshing out the rest of the world from. Even if what I'm really caring about and what the players or readers will see is completely tangential or even disconnected entirely from where I start. A good example of this is my Twilight of the First Age setting, where my initial thought that sparked it was just the political system of a kingdom that has, in effect, the royal crown and a shadow throne. The shadow throne being a system of stewards who are all of a single noble house that originally founded the kingdom, but then stepped down to be stewards of the realm. And then the crown itself is a pseudo-democracy where the major houses will vote for who will be the next king. But that is how I started that setting. I haven't decided this will be part of that world. Probably not. Probably keep it its own thing. But for here, since the initial spark idea was I wanted a castle, I think that'll be our focus point. And what I have been chewing on the past few days thinking about doing this stream for world building was the idea of a setting. I'm tired of kingdoms, but I like knights and chivalric orders. I just think that's a cool way to frame things. So I thought about some kind of chivalric federation, just to mix things up rather than going a regular kingdom with a crown. And I was thinking about how a chivalric federation might work. My initial idea was different chivalric orders where they thinking through this live. Where the different chivalric orders will have some kind of summit to hash things out, and below that would be essentially a service guarantee citizenship, becoming a knight to vote. That kind of situation. I'm not quite sure if we'll go for that, if this will be a part of that idea, or make something else new. But to give a start, I think we need at least a name to latch onto. Get our fonts right here. Wonder Draft is extremely finicky with its labels. It's one of the downfalls of the program. Okay. And the presets are not the best. We're still funky. That's fairly good. We'll start with the body of water. It'll be a bay or a gulf, just from what we see of the shape. What we can see, that would be immediately visible, are the two bands of mountains. The southern one here, that is lower in altitude than the northern band. I'm not sure if there's more up here off the map. But this way you have a parallax effect of two different mountains ranges, one rising above the other on the horizon. Maybe that can inform the water here, how people might come to name it. Taller mountains would definitely be snow-capped. So we have white above there. Maybe they could see that kind of like a blade's edge. Well, sometimes smiths will have a different grade of steel on the cutting edge rather than the main body. That they want a different, I forget the technical terms, but you want different qualities to the different areas that you want. So the cutting edge might be a little bit more brittle to have more hardness, so it can cut better. But for the body, you want it to be more flexible, is my understanding. So perhaps the steel or iron gulf or bay is a little bit too simplistic. Redsteel gulf, Redsteel bay. Giving it a simple color adjective onto that gives us some character while also keeping it fairly simple and recognizable. Redsteel Bay. Redsteel Shores, no. We'll go with Redsteel Bay for now. That's a good starting point. So we have our first word, and we're already characterizing the area. Because you hear Redsteel Bay, that immediately pops images into your mind of what might be there. So perhaps the lower mountains will be red in color, and the top one's white. Maybe that will inform the name somehow. Perhaps there's a local alchemical tradition that creates red steel. The lower mountains could be redder, which could inform their names as well. White wouldn't really inform the names of a mountain too much because that's just too standard. I'm sure there's somewhere in real life where there's white mountains or something like that, but that's just too simple. Too simple. As for what these could be called, what words might conjure red? Well, before that, there's three main sections of the lower mountains that we can see. We got the central, western, and the eastern bands of the lower mountains. Then two halves at the higher mountains, and then we have a taller one up here with the wizard tower. That'll probably be named its own thing. So West, Central, Eastern, Red Mountains. Red Mountains could work, but that's again too simple and a little bit too derivative of Redsteel Bay. Crimson Cliffs. They both start with C. I don't like that too much. It's also a little bit too... I don't know, I hear Crimson Cliffs and I think that's just... something you'd see in like a comic book. I don't like that too much. Not my style. Possible Redsteel occurs elsewhere on this map and world. That's too close in proximity as well. But that could be a Redsteel Lake. Don't know if I'm going to keep that. I'm going to put that down. Oh. That way down in size. Come on. Extremely finicky with text, this program. One trick with this program is to give it a glow and a white outline. I am just fighting this program as I always do with text. Redsteel Lake. And then back down to black. Give it glow. There we go. That's what I wanted. And that is... Where's the... Bring the outline up to... That's a little bit more legible. I'll leave that like there for now. That's just a note for later. I'll probably change that. To aid myself in this, I'm going to bring up some key features just to help note stuff down. Let's see. See. Redsteel Bay. We have that one. Time straight. Let's see. Lower mountains. Upper mountains. We have a few of these already. We have west, central, east. For mountains, we have west. I don't know if they'll probably have their own unique names other than be west and east, because that would be too similar as well. We have the Wizard Mountain, the Eastern Mountain Range. There we go. Help clarify this out. Besides that, we have... I'm seeing this being a dense woodland. South, east, dense woods. A little A there. We have one valley, two valley. West Valley cattle. East Valley. Nothing there yet. We have the lake up there in the central low mountains. Ooh, there you are. There we go. Besides that, we have Castle, Big City, Port City, and Mountain City. That Port Town, Mountain Town. And the rest, I don't think we need too many more names. I think you get too many names, you're gonna clutter it. I don't think these small communities really deserve it. That's stuff you would pull out of your hat at the moment, either through a 1d10 list of names you have pre-generated, or just in your notes elsewhere. So you don't want to list everything. Sometimes you want to encourage players to leave something for them to ask about. That helps get them invested a little. My experience. But now we know what we're working for. Yeah, working towards. So, we had red in these. These mountains are going to be red in color. Rust. Rust Heights. Rust Peaks. Rust Peaks could work. So that could also imply a gradient where it's kind of regular stone, then up as it gets up in height, there's peaks of red. Or rust colored orange, red. Western Peaks. Eastern Rust Peaks. Wrong ranges. You can tell I just got off work there. You. Door Mountain. So. Rust Peaks. Rust Peaks. Central. Yeah, those would be the central Rust Peaks. Or middle Rust Peaks. Central is a little bit too modern. I might change this around later. So only one of these are the Rust Peaks. The others will have their own names. Not sure. For the higher mountains. Maybe something edge. Because the idea starting this was be like a blade edge, with these being the body blade, these be the cutting edge. Don't remember my sword anatomy. If I remember right, like on a saber where it arcs out towards the end, that's called maybe the tongue tier. And that's too complicated. And that also limits us to them having sabers. Which could be cool, but off the bat, that's a little bit too specific. We'll leave the mountains for now and come back to it. Put on the back burner. Let's see. Gravewood. That might be a little bit too on the nose. Although it is a an iconic sounding name, I think that is too on the nose. Ruinwood, too. That has like the same tone of Crimson Cliffs, just too comic booky. Too high fantasy. That's a better term for it. Redport, that's an easy name for that. That was the port town, which will be Redport. That makes sense, being right on Redsteel Bay. Easy take there. Let's put you down. You will be... you look like... Good enough. Redport. We want a glow on you. You're easy to read. Looking around for what else we can do. Red Castle, too simple. Come back to that. We do have these old Stonehenge type ruins up here in the northeast corner. That could be something more high fantasy up here, way out on the periphery. Just a little touch of that to spice it up. Because that's just how I trend towards when I build my worlds, and take it a little bit more towards the lower fantasy, but not completely in the mud. I like to mix in some high fantasy in there just for spice. Not go too much on that. So maybe the haunts. The Dawnstones. The haunts, the Dawnstones. The Old Stones. The Barrow Stones. The Dawn Barrow. It is on the east part of the map. Dawn Barrow. Dawn Barrow Wood. Barrow Woods. That all works. That also handily takes over that area. You really know. It's not just the Dawn Barrow there. That implies that's what that is. Covers that corner. What about up here? Far Woods. A little simple. Doesn't super matter though. What could be beyond those mountains? Besides just the woods, what would be beyond those woods? Maybe a great river valley? Plains beyond the woods, where it levels out. Did have the idea of chivalric federation of some sort. Back to that. Keep saying that. That's just how it goes when we're building. Oh, let's see. What can we do next here? Maybe these are the... Used to be... A kingdom used to be here. That's what these are the ruins of. A castle of a kingdom that since fell. And the chivalric orders took over. Brown Woods. Brown Woods, I like that. And actually, I will place that over here, so that way, crossing that river, that implies it's all of this stuff. Takes care of that chunk of the map. I think I'll go with Far Woods up here, just to give it something. Can always change this stuff later. There is mining in this valley. There's also the monastery idea, or maybe that's some kind of academy. College. Cloister. It is the dominant feature of this valley. That leads up to it. Because this would be upwards in elevation. Significantly. So. Summiton? Is that how you spell summit, or is that just one M? Let me find out. Yep, 2 M's. Can in fact spell. Just throwing ton at the end of that is a little basic. Put you over. Just so you're not blocking the entire town. I might change that later. Something a little different. The Summiton works good enough for now. Clearly an English theming to the name with Redport, Redsteel Bay, Crown Woods. But with chivalric orders, might throw in some French there. Maybe some German, Spanish. Because variety is always nice. Let's see. Would you have a name? This keep? Redport Keep. Leave that unnamed. Okay. What else can we do? This valley that leads up to Summiton. Leave that for now. Not too worth. There are the major rivers as well. This one and this one are the big ones. The rest are too small to bother giving a name. But also, these two rivers frame the castle, so they are noteworthy. Oh, bring this back up. I need to start out some spaces here. Fill in some stuff we got. Oh, you were Summiton E. Woods, Crown Woods, East Woods. Maybe just the Dawn Barrows. Dawn Barrow Woods. Leave that for now. Northwest Woods was the Far Woods. Definitely rename. I like that less and less. It will replace you with an asterisk. Anything else we put down? Okay. So the West River, the East River. Red River, way too easy. Rust River, maybe. The Broadsword, Longsword, and the Great Sword, or the Flamberge because it winds. Like that, the Flamberge for a winding river. Would this be the saber? Yeah, that's like a saber. All right. Easy wins there. Saber. Be those rivers being named after swords inform what we name the castle. Flamberge, we want to rotate you to run along it to make sure it is clear what you are. Bring you down. That's good for you. You will be the Saber Sabre. Office was a good show. I never watched the UK one. It was a good show back in the day. Saber. That is good. So, Gabbard Castle, The castle, maybe the castle will be named after the chivalric order. So that might be the last thing we name. So, perhaps it is time for the tax evading wizard. Monday, when I put him down, because his castle is crooked, he's been here for so long before anyone else in these lands, that his castle rose and has ridden the mountain up. like a part of the land that it's fixated to. So being a predecessor to the modern civilization and culture, his name and what his mountain and his tower there would be named would be possibly completely different from the Anglo naming scheme thematics of the rest of the area. One of my favorite languages to pull from when I'm looking for something Western sounding but entirely unique is the Basque language. Esque something, I can't remember the name of it exactly. But because it has so many loan words from especially Spanish and French, and there's some English in there too, you get a lot of very familiar sounding syllables when you're reading it, and also sometimes when you're hearing it. But it's extremely familiar yet exotic, which lends itself really well when world building some fantasy. So let me bring up favorite pages. The Basque surnames Wikipedia page. I scroll down here to where it has elements that you can combine. Here we go. So we like the name Red here. So bring up my document here so I can workshop this better. Wizard Tower. Goria means red. Gory or Gory are alternate spellings, older ones. So there we have red. Red oak, redstone, red home. Goria Tiggy? Red home? That's a maybe. Tiggy, home. Through that space. What other ones can we tack on there? Old. Zahara. Goria Zahara. Maybe. Hara. Or Zar, also for Tiggy. Depends on that, wasn't there? Tigui. We will put you in brackets. Red. Home. Sahara was old. You can combine these ones that are tacked on as well. What other ones are interesting? Let's see. Garai means high or raised granary, although that's a little specific with the granary. Uru means head or end. Etchia means house. Ola means hut or forge. Of these, I'm kind of liking these so far. So maybe on their own line, just to clean it up, make it easier to think about. Excuse me. So, and when you're pulling real life languages as inspiration, you don't have to keep the same spelling either. You can just completely mash it up. Leave the original meaning implied. So, gore. I like that U in there because that might lend itself to some French implications later on for the rest of the region. Gore. Tiggy. Red home. Where Tiggies are. I like that double A in there. I like that double A. So, Tigizar, the old red home. Old red home. And maybe that mountain itself is just called Tigizar. It's conflated with the Wizard Tower. Wizard Mountain and Tower. Get a little efficient on that. I like that. Conflated. I don't want to name it Crooked or anything like that, because that could be a modern thing that the wizard would take offense at if he pointed out. To him, the rest of the world is crooked. I think that fits his character really well. The West Mountains of the Upper, even though still. But we can put that name in there. I'm going to copy and paste rather than remember how that's spelled. There we go. Where Tigizar. Because this will be the most prominent feature, but just above it, we have this really weird name just standing out like a sore thumb. And I like that dynamic. Because they're so close in proximity. They're both very prominent, but this one is so small and crooked, sitting on top. Great dynamic. Just baked into the world immediately. Definitely not gonna name all these farms. They will logically have their own names, of course, but that's just not worth getting into the weeds in. The big town does need a name. I think that I don't like leaving that as Redport Castle, Redport Keep. It would make sense, I just don't like it. A little bit too simple. I'm not gonna name those ruins or the graveyard bespoke either. Leave them as part of the Crown Woods. Because that way it's just left implied. I don't like the shape of those either. Definitely going to redo that Monday. Maybe redo the graveyard as well. A little too squared off, too L-shaped. Let's see. But, or here, what is a good name for a town here where we have chivalric themes, red themes, sword themes, something like honor would be way too on the nose. Maybe something with shop on the end of it. Guild shops? The guild shops. No, that's a bit too overarching. Too much of an umbrella term. I don't like that. Although they might be called one of the quarters here, the guild shops. But like the guild shops for a neighborhood. I'm gonna make a note of that. Big city. This would be rough quarters. Guild shops, quarter. Leave there as a note for future. Definitely would not it would almost pollute the nap trying to name every single quarter, fit that in. Maybe you can make it work, but this is only a 1080p map. This just needs the city name, not the quarter names. I was also thinking come Monday I might compress the cities, just leave more room between them. Definitely will compress the trees because I don't like how they're spread out. That is too distracting. But need a name for this town. It has a center church tower with almost wheel-like spokes spreading around it. So some kind of ring or circle theming for the name. There is mines in the mountain there that I put. So there could be gold or silver or platinum. Gold ring, platinum ring, plat ring. Too fancy. Gold ring, too simple. Jeweler's ring. Jeweler's ring. I have a hard time pronouncing that word for some reason. But an odd name like that isn't a traditional city name could work. Because maybe this isn't one cohesive city after all. Maybe it is 5 different cities that have amalgamated together. So maybe after all, Guildring could be the name of the city. Just the collective of it. I want a little bit of glow on that to pop it. There we go. Now we can read. Guild ring. Not gold ring. Gold ring would be, it sounds a little bit too flat. I like that guild in there. And maybe at one point it was gold, but then it got bastardized to guild. That could be some interesting backstory maybe. Gold ring. Okay. So we have wealth as another theme with the thoughts of precious metals here. So chivalry, swords, wealth, red. Redsteel order. We could keep this as a monastic town, which implies a religion. So possibly the castle of the Holy Redsteel Order. Spread that on for size. And you will need to come up in font as well. Make you 40. I want to make you red. Crimson? Scarlet? Red. You will be the castle of the Holy Redsteel Chivalric Order. Knights Order. Knights or Order. Chivalric, while it could be funny to have such a long name, too unwieldy. The Castle of the Holy Redsteel Knights, the Castle of the Holy Redsteel Order. I'm not quite happy with either option, either Order or Knights. I'm gonna have to think about that and come up with an alternative. But what I will do is just leave that going straight across. I'm not gonna stack it to try and fit it in. I'm gonna leave that front and center. I'm actually gonna increase the size as well. Let's try 50. There we go. Because this is very clearly whoever made this map the most important part. As well, I like that we have baked in what could be their main weapons of choice. A flamberge and a saber. So, let me put this in here. This is starting to get... Ah, you were pretty on there. You. Castle was The castle of the holy Redsteel order. Gonna put asterisk there because I don't like the word order or knights. I'm gonna make the order part red so I know specifically that one. What else? We have the valley names left and the tall mountains. Now, this side, we already have some themes going on. We have Don Barrow Woods, which implies, of course, the sun. We have Barrow, which is a burial site. We have Summerton, which I think has been locked in now as being some kind of religious town with a monastic order there of some sort. So, God Spires. How many do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-ish. So maybe there's 9 major deities in their pantheon. 9 major aspects. God peaks. A little too on the nose. The Dawn Peaks. The Dawn Peaks could work. It would make sense in the setting as the Eastern Mountain Range that everyone would look at in the morning. It's a little on the nose, but I think it's okay. So let's go with Dawn Peaks. You were around 32. You were around there. Let's try you out. Dawn Peak? EA or EE? Google. Mountain Peaks. EA. The Dawn Peaks. I think that works. I have to get too fancy with everything. I should have put a little bit more glow on that, but I'm not going to try and edit it in. For here, well, what about this valley? Godway, Dawnway. I don't want 3 Dawns in a row. This Don Barrow Woods, that's unique enough to be separate from Dawn Peaks, even though they're right next to each other. Dawn Way, maybe something way. Summit Way, too simple. Oh, what do I think? Could be that you're on the way to, besides just the name of the town. Monk Way, too on the nose. What about these rivers? There's also mines here. Iron Way? Iron Way Valley. Would it make sense to have the primary iron source the same area as the monks? Because there's other mines. There's just that one mine. These are kind of... don't have to be just precious metals. That's just left implied indirectly now. Iron Way. I do kind of like the sound of Iron Way. Way. That'd be a fun little irony there, but no. That'd be a little too confusing with Highway Valley. Mine Way. That's a tough one. This one, Cattleville, way too simple as well. That is also Flamberge, not Flameburge. Am I able to edit that? Can I? Just got to redo that one. The Flamberge. If I can rotate you. Good. Oh, Wonder Draft. I use it because it is the only cartography program I could find that is not. I was about to say Wonder Draft there on the map. The Flamberge. That is not some kind of subscription model. And also, it's its own program that you only pay for once, which is the main reason I use it. But God, does it have some issues. So does Dungeon Draft, its sister program. Because these things are just made like it's 1999 in their design philosophy. They work, but they lack some quality of life and they're just clunky all around. But they do work. So, fix that. Did I need to fix you in here? Rivers, the Flamberge, you're good. The valleys. Do the valleys even need names? I'll leave the names. What I'll do is I'll just leave notes. Valley all caps with asterisks so I know. East. West Valley, because it's also getting on. Been doing this for about an hour now. I think it's about time to call this stream in a minute. Just as a note for later, I will figure out between now and Monday. But let's recap. We have our Sentinel Castle. Well, actually, let's go in the order we started with, because that might be more interesting. We started with Redsteel Bay as a foundational bedrock to start the naming scheme of the rest of the map. From there, we gathered that the lower mountains would be red. I forgot to name those. East Red Mountains. West Red Mountains. Those would need names as well as the valleys. As I was saying, from Redsteel Bay, we went down the path of these lower mountains in height were red in color, or red peaks of some kind. With these being silver, with some kind of blade imagery being drawn from there. So Redsteel Bay. From there, we got Red Pult, which was simple enough. I forget what exactly was next. We did a lot of floundering for a bit there. Redsteel Lake, still not quite happy with that. Donborough Woods was an early get. Don Peaks came from that. Summiton came from there being a monastery there, and that's how high in altitude, relatively. Hard to tell quite on the map, but I'm seeing this more or less kind of a cliff almost here. Possibly. I have to think on that one. We also have the Crown Woods because implying that there used to be a kingdom here that fell into ruin, was replaced one way or another by the Holy Redsteel Order Knights. I'll have to workshop that over the weekend. We also had Guritigazar. No, it was Guritigazar. Guritigazar. I'm actually gonna put a note of how to pronounce that one. I immediately forgot. It was Gore It Ig is R. Your it Tig Izar. Izar. Izar? Izar? If I like that. Gora Tigazar. For the asshole wizard up there who comes from an older world and refuses taxes. His main character trait. We also named the two main rivers here, the Flamberge and the Saber, which is some nifty world building there. The Farwoods may or may not leave it like that. I'm iffy on that one. But there is the world we started on Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed that world building, some insight on how I, either for fiction when I'm writing or just for GMing, how I go through the process. I'm thinking maybe Mondays we'll do cartography, tighten up this map on Monday or do other maps. Tuesday I'm thinking will be dungeoneering, where I'll use Dungeon Draft to make some dungeon maps, or just, because not only dungeons, could be houses, castles, that kind of stuff. smaller scale maps. Wednesdays, either Wednesday or Thursday, I'm thinking I'll be reading a public domain book like how I read Conan yesterday. Because that was so much reading, I'm leaning towards moving that towards Thursday, just so I'm not coming in on Thursday off the back of that, having to talk even more. Give my throat a chance to rest. And then also a world building day, as we did today, which maybe next week will be Wednesday. Either way. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this. Hope you have a great night and a great rest of your week, and enjoy your weekend. Also, while I was thinking about schedule, unlikely I'll be streaming on Fridays, just because I often work weekends, and that way I don't have to think about not streaming on a Friday night because I'm working that next Saturday. Similarly, may or may not be streaming unscheduled streams on the weekends when I'm not working. We'll see what happens. But thank you all for listening to my rambling. Hope you all have a great time.